Okay, let's now try and take, before we get into morning tea, let's try and get a little bit more concrete. And again, it's difficult in a setting like this to try and sort of get reality. But what I want to try and do is to take us through a little bit of a process where we can think about our own schools and think about the sort of the process of change that we are engaged in. And we're going to do it deliberately by using a couple of examples from our own context, all right? And I don't apologize for that. I know the English context better than most, and so, but also it's quite helpful sometimes to take an example outside of your context to actually reflect on. And in the next sort of 40 minutes, Trish and I want to try and take you through an exercise where we will talk to you about schools which have really changed and really transformed against the odds. Not to tell you that, not to say this is the way to do it, but to use our examples as a way of reflecting upon your own work and your own practice. So I want you to be quite critical of what we're going to be saying in the next half hour, but positively critical in terms of, you know, how are we doing this? Is there anything that we can learn, that you can learn from what we're saying, and can we begin to sort of begin to develop our theories of action about sort of how we improve. So that's what we're going to do. And again, you know, no apologies for using English examples. This is not saying how to do it. It's just giving you an example against which you can reflect. Now, I said that I was in government in England, and one of the bits of data that I really worried me towards the end of my stay in government is on the screen now, where I was trying to actually get my statisticians to, you know, try to get data to actually help Blair develop, you know, sort of even more effective policies. I think Blair was a very good prime minister, but even so, he did not sort of succeed in really eliminating child poverty, and really didn't succeed in actually dealing with the most sort of extreme of circumstances in England. Again, this is illustrative, but what I want to, I'm using this to sort of make the point that schools can make a massive difference. But the data for England as a whole, is, in terms of secondary schooling, is contained in this slide here. And what we've contrasted is sort of low deprivation schools. These are schools here which, you know, are in the leafy suburbs, all right? And these are high deprivation schools. These are schools in the most challenging of urban. Yeah, I will, second here. And these are schools in the most challenging of urban areas. The way in which the way in which we measure that in England is percentage of FSM, free school meals, right? So this is the proxy that we use to actually measure deprivation. How many kids have a free lunch, all right? And when you get to below 30, when you get to 35% or more, right? In our system, those are quite deprived schools, all right? Now, so what we then did was to try and do an analysis of the pupil cohorts as well, all right? So the green here are sort of kids from quite rich homes, right? The yellow are kids from sort of, you know, reasonably all right schools. Reasonably all right financially homes, and the sort of orange-red are kids who have free school meals in quite hard-pressed areas. All right? Now, what you learn from this is a number of things. The first is that kids who go to the sort of the leafy suburb schools do better, right? Generally, all right, and that's a finding that we, you know, echoes the research we have in Victoria and Australia as well. That by and large, if kids are affluent, then they will do better than kids who come from less privileged backgrounds, all right? But what we also see from this data as well is that kids who actually come from really poor homes do badly, irrespective of the school that they go to, all right? And the challenge we have, particularly I think in the northern metropolitan region, is to break that cycle, is to do things that we were unable to do as a system in England. and to actually make certain that irrespective of this, irrespective of background, kids will do well. And that's why, in the start of the presentation, I used the phrase "every school a great school." So that's what we want. Is that poverty should not be a sort of a determinant of educational success. Just to say the other metric that I want us to just take some cognizance of is this line here. This is we sort of the metric that we use to look at effectiveness in secondary schools in England is the percentage of youngsters who get 5 good passes at GCSE at age 16. So GCSEs are our sort of VCE equivalents at age 16. The national average is around about 60%. So the average secondary school in England gets 60% of youngsters at that standard. All right, but you look here at the high deprivation schools, it's down to 50% with the richest kids, and 23% for the poorest kids. All right.